All right. Welcome to the call, everybody. Super glad that you're all here today. So, on last week's call, I had said that I would talk today a little bit about like meeting contradicting needs when, we're just one person and everybody's got different needs going on. And it can be really hard to get to somewhere where everybody agrees when again we're just one person. I like to think about it like, you take a family of, however big your family is, three, four, and you you think about a family the size of your family, and think about going out to dinner and just try and figure out what you do and eat in order to meet everybody's needs. And we discover that something that seems on the surface that simple, hey, let's go to dinner, right? It should be really simple. And suddenly the whole thing can completely deteriorate because we can't even agree on where to go. And, a lot of times it's hard to get the adults to agree, but we're not as emotional about it because, like, going to dinner isn't as big a deal to us. We've been to dinner a lot of times, but to kids, going to dinner, it's still kind of novelty and it's new and it's exciting. And there's a lot of big emotion around what they want to eat and what they want to put in their bodies, right? So, sometimes, prefacing with, sometimes I just don't think it's possible to meet everybody's needs. However, I think if we let go of certain ideas that we were raised with, particularly like around where we're going to go to dinner, as an example, um, it can be a little bit easier to figure out, or to find different ways to meet all of those needs. Um, you know, like it's interesting because in a lot of topics, examples will hold true across like a lot of different they'll hold true across a lot of different examples. In the case of meeting contradicting needs, that's not so much true because there's so much nuance in the topic. So, for example, like, figuring out where to go to dinner, maybe we can't get everybody to agree. Maybe we could get a majority to agree. And let's say, we get 3 out of 4 to say, yeah, I'm totally down for some, like, um, let's go get some pasta, Italian food. That sounds great. And then there's one saying, no, I really want a hamburger. Um, and it might be possible. I don't know if like the Olive Garden actually has hamburgers on their menu, but it might be possible to choose a place that is mostly pasta, but also has hamburgers on their menu, right? Sometimes that's not possible either. So, like, the compromising and the goal point gets further out. So then we have to, like, you know, um, reevaluate everything. A lot of times it's just easiest to be like, okay, and maybe we just don't even go sit down somewhere. Maybe we go to 3 different restaurants and order for 3 different people at 3 different restaurants, and then we go sit in the park. Or, maybe we just order the food and go home, or, have Uber deliver it, or like, there's a lot of other options. But if we get stuck in the idea that we all have to agree, we're going to have a really hard time meeting everybody's needs, because a lot of times we can't get everybody to agree and still be meeting their needs. Now, they might agree, but they also might be compromising and letting go of something, right? So, if we're really trying to meet the contradicting needs, there is an element of compromise, which is one of the nuances. And there's an element of also, in compromise, we let go of our stringent ideas. If we really wanted to have that Italian food and like nobody's into it, um, how do we compromise that? Do we let go of the idea that we want Italian food tonight completely? Or do we just rearrange the way we're going to put the food on the table? Like, how are we getting that to here, right? And those are the really important things. Um, I think that, and one of the reasons that this came up as a topic, and one of the reasons that we're digging into it is that um, a lot of us have children, or a lot of us ourselves, and or a lot of us ourselves or our children. Um, we are kind of introverts. We don't like a lot of getting out of the house. We don't like a lot of going places. And oftentimes, we'll have, oh my goodness. Oh, it's so funny. My cat was really going for my coffee cup, and I didn't want to get interrupted on what I was saying. So I moved the coffee cup, and the cat was like climbing over the top of the computer. Oh, goodness. I love that little creature. It's the best. All right. So I was saying that a lot of us and or our children can be introverted, and it's often not across the board. It's like we're introverted or one of our kids is introverted. And so a big portion of the problem and the application, and where I was hearing that it impacts the community of meeting contradicting needs, is actually like going places, doing things, getting out of the house. Which, depending on who is feeling those feelings of anxiety, can be really, really hard, particularly if we're the ones who have to like take everybody somewhere and navigate being out of our space and all of these other things. And it's also hard being just one person when one of the kiddos is introverted, doesn't ever want to go anywhere, and another one of the kiddos is extroverted and they're a social butterfly and they want to be everywhere all the time. And both of those needs are really important. Like somebody who doesn't want to be out of the house, well, they're out of the house a lot because school and daycare and all these other extracurriculars that we have going on. And so when they're like doubling down to stay home, they're really needing that. And same for somebody who really gets a lot from going places and being around people. They're actually needing that. And these are really deep seated human needs. And so, how do we actually manage that? And I think that there's a good portion of that that comes down to our lifestyles. And the resources that we have available to us. Um, if we have, a partner or family members that help us with the kids, if we have people that live with us that stay home so one kid can stay home, those kinds of things are obviously going to take some of it off of our plate. However, um, most of us just don't have like an abundance of people that we leave our kids with. like, um, so I guess the big thing, and I thought about this all week and wrote down some bullet points to talk about and stuff. But I guess the really big thing here is like trying to look at it like a problem that needs solving, and not like a problem like this is a huge problem, but like problem solving, troubleshooting, right? It's something that needs troubleshooting. It needs something that we need to put on our creative thinking caps and figure out what resources are available to us to meet everybody's needs outside of you being the only thing, right? Um, and then B, it really comes down to like breaking it apart and understanding the different ways that we could be meeting certain needs. And, like I said, it's going to be really individual and it's super duper nuanced. But for example, a lot of people who struggle with getting out of the house, they don't really particularly struggle with leaving the house. They struggle with the places they're going. Like a lot of people who struggle getting out of the house, they absolutely probably will not feel comfortable at the shopping mall. However, they might feel comfortable at the beach. And now they might not feel comfortable at that really busy public beach down there. They might be in absolute heaven on this, more secluded beach where there's less people and they're not dealing with all of the extra input, right? And so then we start thinking about these kinds of things. We're like, okay, what is my person like? My person doesn't like a lot of bright lights, loud noises. They don't like a lot of people talking to them. Of course, just spitballing ideas because, I don't know your person and I don't know what they like or don't like. So then we kind of, we can peel off layers, and there's certain things that we just don't even have to suggest, like, um, they don't like bright lights and loud places and like shopping mall. Okay, we're not going to go here for a while. Could be a couple years. No shopping mall. There's a lot of other places we can get our shopping done, right? So that can be really helpful to take into account exactly what are the barriers and blockades and what are not so much the ways around the barriers and blockades, because the way around the barrier or blockade would be like, all right, we're just going to the shopping mall, right? Um, However, we're looking for ways to work with and understand the barrier or blockade. Okay, so you don't like bright lights, you don't like loud noises, lots of people talking to you makes you really uncomfortable. So we're not going around this barrier. We are taking away the things that are problematic, like the bright lights and the loud people, and finding a way to get out of the house into somewhere that feels comfortable for everybody. And then on top of that, I also wanted to add in there that so funny. I'm like, I'm on point. I'm so on point, and then I lose my train of thought. So we're troubleshooting the problems. We're finding different ways that we can meet everybody's needs, right? Because we've got one kid that wants to get out of the house and one kid that wants to stay. So we're looking at all of these blockades and barriers that might be reasons why the thing isn't happening. And another thing, this is what I was going to say. See, I just had to start over. Is that oh my word, my brain just is like on like frying. So collaboration in these situations is going to be really important. Really taking the time to understand um, what other people's needs are, and then um, we can collaborate from a middle place of, hey, is what would feel best for me, and then collaborate. And sometimes we or the other people have to let go of some things in order to find that middle ground. Sometimes collaboration doesn't actually mean that everybody in the situation is 100% happy. It just means that everybody in the situation is happy enough to agree to this thing, right? Um, Also, when it comes down to getting out of the house, including the kids and the choices and the options, what's available to us, what's on the plate is things that we can afford within distance, all the different things that we would be looking at. And we can kind of throw those things out here. Here's some options. We've got beaches, we've got shopping malls, we've got parks, we've got museums, we've got our buddy's house and swimming pools and all of this other stuff, right? These are all things that maybe might be options for you and your family. And, um, allowing them and including them, not allowing, that's not the word I want, but including them in the process of deciding definitely increases the chances that somebody's actually gonna want to do the thing when the time comes to go and do the thing. And so, um, collaboration is always hearing out everybody's needs, and then kind of like nonviolent communication, right? You establish a need and then you work out from that need until you can find a healthy middle ground. Now, if any of the things that we're doing, like we're trying to have a conversation about going somewhere, and for some reason, don't even know why, because this just happens. But for some reason, somebody's getting more and more upset when we're talking about it. We're trying to collaborate, and they're still getting upset because these things really do happen. um, at that point, it's a good idea just to not push it, because sometimes just the idea of like trying to figure it out and trying to meet everybody's needs and all of that, for some people, myself included, which is probably why I'm mentioning it, all of that stuff, it feels like a riddle, like a question with a right answer. And if you get it wrong, then everything's going to go bad. And so it's creating a certain kind of anxiety within their bodies when they start like, when you're trying to collaborate and everything seems like it's on board and people are getting upset, then it's oftentimes because the discussion or the context of the discussion or making decisions could be causing that person some anxiety. So um, at that point, we can just kind of back off a little bit. And um, there really is a lot of wisdom in knowing our people and understanding our people, because we're not all the same and our needs aren't all the same. Obviously, talking about contradicting needs, right? Ironic, I would say that. Um, but even what we need from day to day can change so much from day to day and even from hour to hour. Sometimes when I'm upset, I need a lot of hugs. I need a shoulder to lean on. Sometimes when I'm upset, I want to vent. I need to talk about it. I need to get it all out of my system. Sometimes when I'm upset, I just want to, just sit there quietly and be completely alone. So, knowing that what our people's needs are, it's like we can have a broad idea of the things that definitely do and definitely don't sit well with this person. But we have to also be kind of flexible and open with it, because it could change a lot. You know, even that kid that absolutely did not ever want to go to the shopping mall, one day they might be like, hey, let's go to the shopping mall, right? And so um, just recognizing that we don't want to like pigeonhole anyone or lock them into any corners or boxes when we're kind of working through these things. They're always really open and broad, and we're working with the situation in front of us. And sure, we're collecting data so that we can make the next time we're trying to do the thing a little bit easier. But at the end of the day, we want to be really flexible with it. And we don't want to get like doubled down in an idea that this person just absolutely hates this. And so we're never, ever even going to mention it again. Right. Or, this is the only thing they love. They just want to go to the beach and that's it. So that's the only thing we're ever going to offer. Um, we want to be more open with it, as in, hey, this seems like it is really flowing right now, or this does not seem like it's flowing right now. And maybe we'll revisit it later. Maybe we won't. So I guess I'll leave it at that. And hopefully you find some of this helpful and working with and collaborating with your people and making decisions and getting those life things done that are really important. So awesome. I'm going to go ahead and shut off the recording and get to the sharing portion of this call. Thank you all very much for being here today. And as always, if anybody wants to go first or last or like in line, please feel free to just raise your hand, type it in the chat, any of that stuff, and we'll go from there.